There have been some card buyouts going on recently that I wanted to talk about, specifically Team Rocket related cards from Celebrations. However, there are also some other cards being bought out that I wanted to mention here. Just a couple of cards. I know there's plenty of other cards in different sets that are also getting bought out, but there's a few here from Paradox Rift that I wanted to talk about because these are very obvious buyouts because there's literally like none available now for sale. It's pretty crazy when you think about it because these are modern sets. And the fact that, some of these cards, there's literally just a few on the market is crazy. So I'm not one of those people that, do these, singles plays like, that, people, I know people out there like buy a ton of, copies of a single card and, wait for them to go up. And, you can calculate some things and kind of, take some educated guesses on what cards are going to probably go up, but I just don't really play that game. That's not really my expertise, but there are definitely some people that see some value in these cards because they are getting bought out. And the first one here I wanted to show you guys is Altaria EX SAR from Paradox Rift. This one has gotten bought out just recently, very recently. You can see here on January 31st, 49 copies were sold. If you compare it to every other day before that, there's an extreme difference. So obviously is being bought out. And you can see here though, it's not just like one single person. There are some people buying multiple copies, like this person bought 9, some people bought 3, but there are a lot of people just buying just one. But it seems like it was somewhat, you could say coordinated, because why is it just this one day a ton are sold? I'm guessing just everybody sort of hopped on the train, and you can see here a lot were sold. And you can see how many are listed. There's like none. This seller has 0% feedback, and they're listing it for like $20-$30 under market. So who knows if this is even a real listing or whatever. But other than this, person that has no feedback, there's only 2 copies for sale in near mint condition for a modern card, which is pretty crazy. And if you want to go to lightly played condition, you can see there are some listings for lightly played, but even these, there's only one available for each listing. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. And I don't know exactly why this is getting bought out. Maybe some people see this as being extremely undervalued. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if this is all a pump and dump thing. It possibly could be. Some people may just be, having, hundreds of dollars laying around, thousands of dollars, and they're like, you know what? I want to buy, the whole stock of the markets, of this card, and I'm just going to do it. And, maybe some people talk about it, and it happens on, these days, and we see it happening with this card. So, it will be interesting to see where these cards are going to price after these sorts of buyouts, because think about it. If the market price right now, all these cards were sold at like $56, right? And somebody buys out all of these. Whoever lists the next price, of the card, let's say all these disappear. Maybe somebody lists it for $70, right? That can be the new market price. So, this stuff, you got to be kind of careful with, I would say, with cards that are getting bought out like this, especially when there's none being listed. Because, like I said, those sorts of things can happen when, all these, cards are depleted from the market. People just list, a card, for higher. And then, it's a lot of stuff can happen. It can be very volatile. But definitely, yeah, it is interesting, though, to see some of these cards, getting bought out. And like I said, I don't know exactly why some of these are getting bought out, like Altaria. But it's happening. Now, another card from Paradox Rift that's getting bought out is Garchomp EX. For some reason, the chart is all messed up, but if you just look at the sales data, you can see how many copies are being sold of this card. You can see on the 31st, it's the same thing. I don't know. It seems like this is, like, I don't want to, be one of those conspiracy theory people, but it's the same thing on the same day as the Altaria got bought out. Same thing happened with the Garchomp. You can see here, though, it's not like there's, like, just one person buying, multiple copies, but obviously it could be one person just buying from a lot of different sellers, but you can see a lot of these copies are being sold of this card of Garchomp, and these are all relatively cheap SIRs, so it's possible, maybe people see some value here or something, but if it's the same thing as Altaria, there's really none left to, really buy. There's only 6 copies available in near mint condition for Garchomp, and if you go and see conditions, there's actually none being listed for lightly played, so there's only 6 cards. And these are all very modern cards, and they're not expensive. So it is surprising, though, to see that there's literally like none listed for these cards because they got bought out. Now, those were just some honorable mentions. I wanted to mainly make this video to talk about Team Rocket related cards, specifically from Celebrations, that are getting bought out. Now, these sorts of things happening with, Team Rocket related stuff, it This is more obvious than obviously, the other cards I showed you from Paradox, like Altaria, the Garchomp. Those ones, I'm not really exactly sure why that's happening. But with these Team Rocket cards from, Celebrations, it's obvious why it's happening. It's because of the Glory of Team Rocket set that's coming up, here in May. You know, I mean, this was going to happen at some point. I am kind of surprised it's happening right now because we are still pretty far away from the release of that set. Like, it's still, what, 4 months away? Because we still have Journey Together. That's going to be here before, Team Rocket. But Team Rocket is getting bought out right now. So I think people are just trying to be ahead of the curve and buy all these cards while they're cheaper, because this happens with any set really. Like, inevitably, whenever a set comes out and it's themed, like, with the trainer galleries from, Sword and Shield, I'm pretty sure they have been going up because, of Journey Together. The same thing's happening because of Team Rocket, that set coming out in May. These cards are now getting bought out in extreme quantities. These plays are obvious. A lot of people do them, and I'm going to show you here with, Brilliant Stars what happened with those cards and why it happened. With Team Rocket, you can see here, there is an extreme amount of people recently just buying out these cards. Gyarados, it's not as extreme as some other cards I'm going to show you here, but you can see it's obvious that there's been a spike of sales for, this card. And this card being $2, there's probably a lot of people that have made a few $100, like, you know what, I'm just going to buy a ton of copies, and that's what's happening. And some of these even super cheap cards, we're talking about pennies here. These are getting bought out like crazy. Like, you can see this one, there's one that's crazier, but you can see, I mean, these are like 20-cent cards that people are speculating on because, I mean, they're cheap. It's a Team Rocket related card, and there's some people buying these out. And guys, think about it. If this is 20 cents, right, and you're buying 50, guys, that's like, what, $10? So it's really not that hard to buy out some of these cards when they're so cheap. And there are, some other cards that's more obvious they're going to buy out. Like here, Zapdos consistently selling very often. And this is the main one I wanted to show you guys because this one's actually kind of funny. Here comes Team Rocket. Look at this day. 588 copies were sold. Now let me actually do the math on that just to see how much that actually is, because it's not that much money. So if you multiply 73 cents by 588 copies, guys, it's only $430. It's not that much. There's definitely some people out there that are making these plays, and guys, a few $100 to some people is really nothing. So yeah, stuff like this is happening because people are anticipating these cards to go up in value when the Glory of Team Rocket set comes out. And for the most part, these plays are, I don't know if it's 100% of the time, but for the most part, these plays usually work because they're obvious, because it's just like, it seems like time and time again, any sort of set that comes out that is, I guess, related or has some sort of correlation to a previous set, those previous set cards will go up in value. It's just kind of what happens. And an example I wanted to give you guys here is with Brilliant Stars. The reason why, these Brilliant Stars cards from the trainer gallery that I'm showing you here have been going up in value a lot and did go up in value a lot is because of prismatic evolutions. These are evolutions, right? And I guess also they're trainer cards, you can say that too, but mainly because they're EV cards, right? And look at here. Before this, prismatic evolutions was released, right? Look at here. You can see the sales data. A lot of these were being sold, right? This is before the set was released. A lot were being sold. You can see this is pretty consistent with all these EV cards. They were all being bought out before the set was released. You can see here, it's just a play a lot of people do. And for the most part, you can see here with all those cards I just showed you, they've gone up a lot in value. So if you can get ahead of the curve, you can make some money doing these plays. Personally, if you're asking me, are you going to do this for Team Rocket or any of these sets? No, I'm not planning on buying like tens or hundreds of copies of cards and selling them individually. Especially some of those cards from, celebrations, like those Team Rocket cards that were like 70 cents or 20 cents. Guys, do you understand how much you have to sell to actually make an okay profit? Like, it's not worth it to me. Even for those $2 cards, like, the Gyarados or the Zapdos, it's not worth my time. Think about it. Even if it doubles or triples in value, right? Let's say it triples from $2 to $6. You're making a, $4 profit, but if you're shipping, it's probably if you do an envelope, maybe like 70 cents or whatever. But you think about the mass amount of things you're going to have to ship out. Is it really worth it? For me, I don't really care to do it. I know there's people out there that maybe do singles and that's sort of what they do in their business. I understand those people. But for me, I'm a sealed guy. I've never been a card investor. I've talked about it before. I don't do any of these sorts of card investments, even when these plays are sort of obvious, right? Because we can see here with, these cards from Brilliant Stars, the trainer gallery, why they went up was because of prismatic evolutions, because there was an Eevee set and they went up. And we've seen this happen before with some other sets that have come out in the past. Some cards that are correlated or have like previous versions of, they tend to go up when a set has a new version of them. It's just an obvious play. But it's an obvious play that I'm not going to take advantage of, because to me, it's really not worth it because of just how much work you're going to have to do to sell, ship. It's not worth it to me. But I do understand people making these plays, and you can do very well. But for me, it's not my thing. So that's all I want to talk about today, these card buyouts specifically with Team Rocket. It is pretty obvious that this was going to happen, but like I said, I am surprised it's happening right now because we are still pretty far away from the release. But yeah, that's all I want to talk about today. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.